Hello, and welcome back to the Draw, a Fairway Green podcast. And this time of year is great because we get majors more and more often. This week we have the U.S. Women's Open over at Riviera Country Club. Before we get to this week's events, we're going to recap last week's event. We'll start at the DP World Tour with the Austrian Alpine Open and Kota Kaneko winning for the first time in the DP World Tour. 23-year-old from Japan. He finished first on the Japan's World Tour Order of Merit last year, so he earned his DP World Tour that card. Finished T2 2 weeks ago at the Sodol Open, and this week gets the win. And it looked drama-free until the last hole. His tee shot hit the grandstands, bounces across the green, gets held up in the rough, thankfully, before it gets to the water, chips up to 2 feet, putts for par. Nice, easy two-stroke win for the young 23-year-old.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy tournament. Kota Kaneko, another good story. I love when the tour has the pipelines for guys around the world to kind of make their way up, make a name for themselves. And he played well on the Asian tours that like you mentioned, and then he's playing well in the DP World Tour with second place last week and now a win this week. So it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out at the end of the year. I love he's 22, 23 years old, so it could be another talented youngster coming up and making a name for himself on the PGA Tour. Hopefully, we'll see him there soon. So another good tournament on the DP World Tour. They always have good stuff going on over there. Some really entertaining stuff. Really, some very entertaining finishes over there this year between a shank on 18 and now this one into the stands and the one near the water in the 18th hole. There's always something going on over there. So it doesn't fail to disappoint.
Yeah, I saw it, and the announcers were like, "Oh," and he looked shocked. And then afterwards, he said he knew he didn't go in the water. I don't know if I believe him or not, because the way he reacted afterwards and like his face of utter disbelief was funny, but also like, man, like that could have made that closing hole. It would have made for an interesting finish if it did go in the water. We'll say that. But yeah, I think he moves up to 11 on the race to the buy rankings. And again, those top 10 players earn a PGA Tour card. Now, if you're 11, but Rory McIlroy is 2. He already has a PGA Tour card, so 11th player gets that card. So it's the top 10 non-exempt players on the PGA Tour. So he's right in line or close to getting that PGA Tour card, which again, another young gun coming up, from Japan. We'll see. Hideki's obviously the most decorated Japanese golfer of all time. Will this guy get there? Who knows? But it's good to see other countries start to produce some young guys that will compete on the PGA Tour level. On the Ladies European Tour, we had another young winner. Again, 20-year-old from German, Helen Briem, wins over at the Jabra Ladies Open de France. She wins by 7 shots, which is just a running away from the field as a 20-year-old. She started the day with a 3-shot lead. It's not easy playing with that big of a lead, but she extended it. She doubled her lead by the end. It picks up her second career Ladies European Tour title win.
Yeah, pretty dominant win this week by Helen Briem. As you mentioned, starting with a 3-shot lead, we've seen time and time again this season, that kind of go down and then go away. And eventually you look up and you're on the back nine and you're down by a couple shots and, oh goodness. But she was on her game this weekend and, to win by that many shots on a professional tour is very impressive. And she hasn't won. She didn't win on tour last year. I know in her press conference she talked about, oh, it was a long time coming because she won 2 years ago, didn't win last year, had a few runner-ups, a bunch of top tens. So maybe not a pretty successful season, maybe in terms of finishes wise, and keeping tour status, but no wins to show for it. It's maybe a little disappointing. But this year it was really nice for her to come out and get her first win of the season, and hopefully more good things to come for Helen Briem.
Yeah, 2 young winners again over there on the European Tour and the DP World Tour. So that's great. Again, great for the game of golf. The younger, the better. We have the NCAAs going on over here, so that's been fun to watch. And over on the LPGA Tour, we at the 2026 ShopRite LPGA powered by Wakefern, Céline Boutier overcomes a 4-shot deficit to win by 1 stroke. Another exciting close finish like we've had all year on all different tournaments this year. So again, LPGA Tour, not the strongest field like we mentioned last week, but for her to come back, win. I mean, she wins for the first time since 2023. That's a long time for someone as good as she is.
Yeah, we mentioned with the last tournament, the Ladies European Tour, going to the final round of the big lead. I mean, Soo Bin Ju, she was playing very well the first 2 days, and it was a 54-hole tournament on the LPGA and the European Tour, so a little different. But 54 holes. But Soo Bin Ju was playing out of her mind. She was winning by I think at least 3 shots. She was up there going into the Saturday, and then she shot a 73 on Saturday and during the final round, and lost her lead. And she mentioned, she hasn't been in this position too many times, and she's like, oh, I had some fun. So that's a good takeaway to have from it. Enjoying the lead, but maybe a little disappointed she didn't win. On the final day. But Céline Boutier, she's now a two-time winner of the ShopRite LPGA. I think it was something else when she won it in 2021, but she's won it for a second time. They are now the longest running title sponsor on the LPGA Tour. So another cool thing. Shout out ShopRite. They like up in New Jersey. Don't have it where I'm from, but shout out ShopRite, and be another great tournament. I know not necessarily the strongest field. We talked about it last week. You mentioned it just now. So not the strongest field. No Nelly, no Gino, not really many top 20 players, maybe a couple, but really not many top players because they're preparing for the U.S. Women's Open, which we will get into a little bit later. But exciting tournament next week, and certainly a good tournament again this week.
Yeah, you were right. She won here in 2021. It's her 7th career victory. Again, still really good tournament, really good way to kick off the week before a major as well for the LPGA Tour. On the PGA Tour, it was an exciting day. I didn't think it was going to be exciting. I thought Eric Cole had it. Russell Henley goes absolute nuclear on the last 3 holes, goes birdie to finish to force a playoff. Not only does he birdie his last 3, all 3 of his putts came from 15 feet or more. And then the playoff hole, his 4th hole, makes another birdie. So he played his last 4 holes in 4 under to win the tournament. And again, Russell Henley is ranked in the top 10 of the official world golf ranking. He won the Arnold Palmer last year. He was on the President's Cup team and the Ryder Cup team the last couple of years. And we said this last week, it's a ball striker's course, and he is a pure ball striker, and he made putts when he needed to. And Eric Cole just, I guess you call this a mini choke. I don't think this is bad as, I don't think there's really been any bad chokes this year on the PGA Tour. I know, who was Daniel Berger didn't choke at the Arnold Palmer. Akshay Bhatia took it from him. Siwoo Kim didn't choke last week. Wyndham Clark took it from him.
Ludwig Oberg at the Players.
Yeah, that would probably be the biggest choke we've had. And even then, I don't know. He was the leader, but I don't think he was the favorite. So Eric Cole, he started the day with a 2-shot lead over Henley, and he was stuck in neutral. I think he shot even par for the day. And at that course, it's good, but it's not going to get you a win on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it was a very nice tournament this week on the PGA Tour. Not the strongest field once again, but it was different. It wasn't like the week before, with 30 under being the winning score. We had, 13 under, more reasonable and, more exciting tournament, not just, going out there and shooting 60s and 61s, to win the tournament. But Russell Henley, extremely underrated golfer. He is probably in the top 5 most underrated golfers on tour. I personally am not, a big Russell Henley guy just because of how he played in the Ryder Cup. I'll get that out of the way, but I still think he's very underrated, and I will give him credit. He's a very good ball striker, like you mentioned. We saw him at the Masters. He threatened at the Masters, which you need to hit it in very precise spots around that golf course, and he was doing that. Didn't play well enough the first 3 days to make it too much of a run going on Sunday, but he was there. And so, yeah, another good tournament. I thought Eric Cole's story was great. I was pulling for Eric Cole, also pulling for JJ Spawn. JJ Spawn was up there, was in the lead for quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, man, Brian's boy's going to win here. And after last week when I said he could play well here, and he proved right.
Yeah, so I was pulling for JJ Spawn. Didn't happen, but you can't win them all. It wasn't raining. That's why. He thrives in the rain. It wasn't raining. So, let's hope for some rain next week in 2 weeks. But no JJ Spawn this week. Russell Henley wins, and, great tournament.
Yeah, no, it's a fun golf course because it is shorter and you have to hit the fairways, and it's cool to see them, right? I think they finished at 12 or 13 under. That's a good score for a PGA Tour event. Now, do I mind some weeks? Yeah, if it's low some weeks, sure. But that's a good test of how to build a golf course in the modern day to test, because you had players that are bombers up there. It's not like you didn't have any bomber. Ludwig Oberg is a bomber, and he was up there. So it's a really fun golf course. I know all the talk about is the golf rollback and how this PGA Tour's schedule is kind of changing, and we talk about that at the end a little. But yeah, I think it's a really good test for them, and the players all love it. It's a course that usually gets some good players. But yeah, Russell Henley is just it's fairway, green, make a putt. And it's a simple game. His swing is nice and easy. It's the fact I think he has 6 wins now. It's shocking he doesn't have more of how well he hits the ball. But anyway, good for him. This week is obviously a major week. We'll get to that here in a sec. We'll start with the DP World Tour event up at the KLM Open, the Dutch Open. It's in Amsterdam, Netherlands. Again, this is one of the longest running tournaments on the DP World Tour. It's like 4 other tournaments are older, and that's it. And one of them is the Open. So if you're in the same air as that, you're doing something right.
Pretty nice.
Last year's winner, Connor Syme from Scotland, he's in the field defending his title. We have a couple Dutch players who are looking to win here for the second time. Joost Luiten, he's won here twice. He's from the Netherlands. He won here in 2013, 2016. He's in the field looking to become a 3-time winner of his national open. So that'd be pretty cool. My pick, though, is an Austrian, Bernd Weisberger. He won the Volvo China Open at the end of April. He has 2 other, I think, top 10 finishes, and he finished, I think, 9th or 13th last week at the Austrian Alpine Open. So he's playing well. He won again recently. And since that win, he's played well, other than the PGA Championship. Didn't really play that great there. But again, first major in a while, tough golf course. I'll give him a little bit of a pass there. But Bernd Weisberger is my pick to win for the second time this year on the DP World Tour.
Yeah, so another good tournament on the DP World Tour. Pretty long-standing tournament. So I'm gonna go for this week. I'm gonna go with Thurston Lawrence. You might have heard that name before. He was contending at the Open a few years ago, I think, when Xander Schauffele won. So you've seen out there the golfers from South Africa on the DP World Tour have been playing very well this year. I talked about that last week. So I'm gonna go with another South African this week, and we'll see what happens. Hits the ball a mile. I know that.
It's a long golf course too, I think. So it's very plausible. And the South Africans keep winning. So as long as they keep winning, why not pick one? On the PGA Tour, we have another good tournament, one of the better non-major tournaments of the year, the Memorial Tournament presented by Workday out at Jack's Place at Muirfield Village Golf Club. It's a fantastic course, fantastic watch. Scotty Scheffler's the back-to-back reigning champ here, looking to go for 3 in a row. It's a really tough golf course. It's long. The greens are fast. The rough is thick. And Jack has redesigned this course like 3 or 4 times to make sure it fits the modern day golfer, which is fun. I know a couple of years ago they like tore it up. So it's an interesting field. It's a really good field. 9 of the top 10 players in the world are in the field. It's a good test, especially before their US Open here in a couple weeks. I don't know. It's tough to pick someone this week. I thought about Scotty, but I don't know if I can pick him. He's played really well this year, but to win 3 times in a row at the same event is really hard to do.
Yeah, I know, great tournament. I love the Memorial. Finally some big names in the field. We finally get to see Rory and Cam Young and Scotty play in a tournament at the same time for the first time in what feels like forever. So it's very nice. And as you mentioned, it's very difficult to pick who could win this week. But I'm gonna make a pick. My pick this week is Hideki. We know Hideki, major winner, always wins a tournament seemingly every single year. That probably the most decorated Japanese golfer of all time. So Hideki is 2 top 10s this year. He is 14th in strokes gained approach to green, and 19th in strokes gained around the green. So pretty good with the irons, the wedges. His problem is with the driver. If you watch the final round of the Waste Management, you would know he did not hit. I don't think he hit maybe any fairways in that final round. So his problem is the driver. Definitely, he's 131st in strokes gained. So that's pretty rough. But I think that he's still good enough to figure it out, even with the driver not going his way. He's been managing this year already. He's got like 7 top 25s, so he's been doing all right.
He's been good.
Yeah, he's been doing fine. So I'm going with Hideki this week.
His short game is phenomenal. I think an underrated part of his game, and that will be so important around these greens up there, especially if you miss in the rough. Especially if he's missing fairways and playing from the rough and not going to be able to get to the green. That's massive, and he's been really good at it this year. My pick is, and I don't love it, so maybe it'll actually work out for one time, but I'm going to go with Xander Schauffele. He has 4 top 10 finishes in his last 6 starts. He has a T8 finish here 2 years ago. He's finished T25 2 of the last 3 years as well. So a good finish 2 years ago and okay finishes the next 2 years. But there's something about Xander that I can never quit. He's just so good. And after winning 2 majors a couple years ago, he returned to the winner's circle last year in the fall at the Zozo out in Japan. And he's played well this year. He's still there's usually one part of his game missing every week that's kind of held him back. And I think if he can find the fairway, which he's good at, and he's not short by any means, and if his putter gets to normal Xander Schauffele putting, I think he could compete and win here this week.
Xander Schauffele is always, I feel like he's always so close. The good golf is there and we've seen it.
Yes.
And it just takes that 1 week for him to just, put it together, and he's looking like a top 5 player in the world. I'm hoping it's this week too. I'm pulling for Xander.
All right. over to the granddaddy of them all, the good stuff, the major. All right. U.S. Women's Open at Riviera Country Club is this week. And boy, am I excited to see this golf course and see the women play this golf course. This is one of my favorite golf courses they play on the PGA Tour. And now seeing the LPGA Tour play a major on it, I cannot wait. I think it's going to be great. I know the Olympics are going to be at this course, I think in 2028 or 2030. I think 2028. That's going to be exciting. I think they're hosting a Ryder Cup soon as well. This golf course is maybe my favorite non-major event just because of this golf course. And it's not going to play, I don't know how similar it's going to play to when the men play it. The men play it in like February. It is June in California. I'm going to fascinated to see how different it plays compared to February.
Yeah, I'm very interested. We always see the PGA Tour play this in February, as you mentioned, and I want to see how they play with the rough because it is the U.S. Women's Open. And I want to see the rough get nasty because do you think at this point in the year there's enough rain? I know it's in LA, so who knows? And Riviera, I don't know. I have mixed opinions on the course because I like Riviera, and I feel like it's gonna be a great test for the women to play this week. But at the same time, I feel like I see Riviera way too often. Like I feel
That's
like it's
fair.
one of these it's like a Torrey Pines actually, like kind of where you see it a
Yeah.
lot. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure how to feel about it this week, but it'll be a good test. It'll be pretty fun. So for this week, for the U.S. Women's Open, second major of the year, I think there are only two players that can win this. Nelly Korda and Gino. You know them. They are the two best players in the world, number one and number two, undisputed. And I haven't really seen anyone on the LPGA Tour who's challenging them like often and continuously. When Nelly's winning, Gino's right there, and then when Gino's winning, Nelly's right there. So it's always number one, number two, number one, number two. And I think that Nelly is going to win her second major of the season. She won the Chevron. I think she's going to win the Women's U.S. Open. She is first in strokes gained, tee to green, off the tee, and scrambling. So she is first. And I think she's second in the other ones, like putting. And so it's ridiculous. She's on a different level, and she's in first place on the LPGA Tour, and she has 20 rounds in the 60s this year. So, and she hasn't played in every single tournament. She's played in, I think, 8 or 9. So you can do the math. That's unbelievable. So I think Nelly is going to win this week. It's pretty simple.
If she wins, she completes the career Grand Slam. I know it's not all 5 majors, all 5 majors of the Super Slam, but if she wins this one, she gets the career Grand Slam. So that's cool. And she's so young still. Like, if she wins and completes, like, how many more can she win after that? Like, I mean, you're talking upwards of 10 if she continues on this trajectory, which I know last year she didn't win any. But this year she's winning them all and she's back to number one in the world. It's tough to not pick her. I mean, she finished second last year to Maja Stark up at Erin Hills. So she's played well at a US Open. So I thought about Hannah Green. Obviously Gino and Nelly are there. It's tough not to pick Nelly or Gino. And I think I'm gonna go with Gino just to be a little different. And I think Gino wants to get that major. I think that's maybe the driving force that's like, hey, I need to win one of these to stay with Nelly. Not that she's not with Nelly, but like, right, like at the end of the day, we compare majors, right? Brooks Koepka has 5 majors. That's the thing. Like he had more than Rory for a while. Like that's what we compare. Like that's what it's all about is the majors. She's played well in them before, but she's got to get a win at some point. And it's hard not to pick her until she wins one. But I'm gonna go with Gino, world number 2. I would love a Nelly versus Gino back 9 showdown come Sunday night, like sun setting in California at Riviera. Give me that 18th hole. Just every bit of it would be phenomenal. It'd be phenomenal for the LPGA Tour. I think it's great. I mean, and there's a whole bunch of players playing well. Hannah Green's played well. Lottie Wode's played really well. I mean, Charlie Hall's played well this year. I mean, and then you have Minjee Lee. She's won majors. Brooke Henderson, she's won majors. Lydia Ko, like it's the U.S. Women's Open. Anything can happen, right? Like we saw JJ Spawn win the U.S. Open last year. Like, is there
JJ Spawn? Rick are not allowed.
Is there?
He said
AJ
Wyndham Clark.
Spawn?
That would have been way better.
I know, but like, is there just an out of nowhere winner that we're gonna see? I find it hard to believe the way some of the top players in the LPGA Tour are playing, but it may be. Like, maybe it's a weird weather week. Maybe the rough is really that bad, like you're saying. Like, make it nasty. I'd love that. Like, I love it. Please make it tough. Make these greens roll real fast. Like, let me see carnage, please. Like, I want to see them. I want to see it struggle. And it's tough not to pick one of the two best players right now because they're playing so much better than everyone else. And I mean, it's tough. Like, I don't want to say everyone's playing for second, but in a way they are.
They might be. And to your point of Gino trying to get that first major, it's so interesting to me that she doesn't have a major yet because she is, world number one. She won the Tour Championship the last 2 years, which is incredibly impressive. She's multiple time winner. She's always up there, and she doesn't have that major yet. And I know last year she was so close. I think she lost in a playoff at the Evian, or she was on the last hole. She lost it. So she was so close last year. Didn't quite get it done. But I think this year will be different. I think a Geno major this year is very possible. I think it happens this year. And then with the US for having a kind of maybe an unknown winner. I know Maya Stark last year, not very known really at all. I
Yeah.
didn't know who she was, no disrespect, but she won, at Erin Hills. She played very well. So this, you never know on the LPGA tour, we had a first-time winner, I think. I was like Mao Sego. I think she won the Chevron last year. First win, and for her first major. So a couple first-time wins and major champions on the LPGA tour last year. And I'm excited to see maybe someone can get it done this week. Not really sure how possible it is, but it would be a very good story.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. And before we go, just housekeeping stuff over on the PGA Tour. Some of the schedule stuff was announced. They're moving some of the tournaments, like the Cadillac Championship's moving up. Arnold Palmer's moving back. The Century, which was the former sponsor of the Century Tournament Champions out in Hawaii, is now the sponsor of the Torrey Pines event. Farmers Insurance dropped. And then just before we got on here, I was reading that the PGA Tour has asked the John Deere Classic to move from where it is at TPC Deer Run to a course in the Chicago area. So we'll see if that happens. That, to me, defeats the purpose of the John Deere Classic. If you're going to go play it in Chicago, like, keep it in, I think it's somewhere in Silvis, Illinois. So there's a lot of stuff with the PGA Tour schedule happening, and I don't know how much of it will be finalized, but there's just some couple things, some dates moving, and some new sponsors of some things. And then I know before we got on, you mentioned Blades Brown has accepted his special temporary membership on the PGA Tour, so he can now receive unlimited sponsor invites into PGA Tour events, which is really cool to see. I think he 19 years old, and I think I read that he can become the youngest player if he goes the Korn Ferry route still to earn his PGA Tour card via the Korn Ferry, since Jason Day did it when he was 19 years old too. If you're in the same conversation as Jason Day, you're doing something right. Like, Jason Day is a world number one. He's a major champion for a reason. So if you're in that conversation, good for Blades Brown.
Yeah, 100%. I'm really excited to see what Blades Brown does the rest of the season. So much hype. Played in the final group with Scotty in February at the Amex. So, Blades Brown, a ton of talent. Really excited to see what goes on. And then regards to the schedule change, I'm a huge fan of moving things to the big markets. I know, it hurts to say for those smaller market areas, not big cities. It's kind of like their thing. They have their golf tournament once a year. The fans come out, the players come out, and it's probably an exciting time in that town. But as someone who I live very close to DC, but there's no really professional golf that goes on anywhere.
Yeah.
There are some great courses in the Maryland and Northern Virginia area that don't really get utilized. There was the Wells Fargo, I think 4 years ago at TPC Potomac, which was a great course. It rained a lot. It was a fun tournament. It was certainly a chaotic tournament. It was a great tournament.
Yeah.
They've had some tournaments at Caves Valley, the BMW. They've had that up in near Baltimore. So I guess that's pretty close. But as someone who the majors, up in New York City, Chicago, LA, DC, the big cities, I think that they should be catering towards those big markets a little bit more than they have been. Not that they should fully go away from those small events, but maybe I like the direction they're going on this.
Yeah, I think some of the schedule changing was necessary. I think some of the signature events being too close together, back-to-back weeks. I still don't like the one stretch. It's the Cadillac Championship, then the Players, and then the Arnold Palmer. So again, it's signature event, the Players, which signature event, fifth major, whatever you want to call it. and then another signature event. Like, I don't know, spread them out. I know they moved the Valspar now is going to be later in the spring, so it's not in that Florida swing anymore. We'll see. Again, this is all for 2027. I would be shocked by 2028. There's a whole new schedule after next year, so I think
Match
this is
play
more
Tour Championship too, please.
yeah, I mean, something. I think there's going to be a lot of changes that we don't know, at least for the 2028, that we won't know for a while. But for 2027, it looks like a lot of the tournaments are staying the same. They're just moving dates, which is fine. Again, not the worst thing in the world. I think you play the Cadillac Championship at Trump Doral earlier on. I think it plays a little harder now. It's a little firmer, maybe more wind, all that stuff. But this week's focus is on the U.S. Women's Open over at Riviera Country Club. Again, tune in. It's going to be a great test for the women to play that golf course. And then the Memorial, another good test. But U.S. Women's Open, again, check out our website, fairwaytogreen.com, our Instagram, Fairway to Green, and check it out on YouTube as well. Again, we'll be back next week to recap who the major winner is for the LPGA Tour, and then we'll recap the other DP World Tour and PGA Tour events and preview the next week's events as well. Again, enjoy the golf this weekend. Oh, that's me.